Welcome to MasterMind Minutes, the podcast that focuses on the franchise industry. We'll cover topics that are important to franchisees as well as franchisors and share interesting insights that will help you build your business. We have one guest, we ask one question, and we do this in minutes, not hours. Hello again, and welcome to another edition of MasterMind Minutes. My name is Gary Occhiogrosso. I am the founder and managing partner of Franchise Growth Solutions and the publisher of franchisemoneymaker.com. For those of you who are joining MasterMind Minutes for the very first time, the concept is very simple. We have one guest, we ask one question, we get one expert answer, and we do it in minutes, not hours. And today, our guest on MasterMind Minutes is Stéphane Breault, and he is a leader in the franchising world with over 2 decades of experience as CEO of Canadian franchise networks and more than 15 years as a franchise advisor. His approach to franchising is unique. We were talking a little bit before the program, and I can't wait for him to share his information. He's known for his strategic, creative, and direct style. He's guided over 100 Canadian and international franchise networks. His client roster, by the way, includes brands like Petro Canada, which those of us here in New York are not that familiar with, but we are familiar with Jani King, and we are familiar with 7-Eleven, and the Canadian Franchise Association, obviously. So he brings a rare blend of operational insight as well as leadership development to the table, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Stéphane, first of all, thank you very much for being here with us. Before we get into the question, tell us a little bit more about you and about your organization, and we can then get into the question.
Okay. So, Gary, thank you for receiving me. It's a great honor. Thank you. Imagine Franchise, which is my organization. We've been working with emerging and mid-sized franchisors throughout Canada, and now since a year or so in the US. The main focus of what we do is I say we because I got a couple of experts that helps me, but basically I am the lead guy everywhere. Is helping CEO to become strategic CEOs so they can really grow their network without too many issues that we see normally, because franchisors, most of franchisors are entrepreneurs, and that's great, but at a certain level they have to change and to level up, and that's where the fan, so it's a bit tough. See, so, and this is where I intervene with them and help them to see themselves differently, the mindset, the organization, everything.
Yeah, well, I will say, again, we work with franchise companies, not so much the individual leader of the company, although I will say, after 35 years, there's probably 3 reoccurring reasons why franchise companies fail. And in no particular order, I'm not going to list them all, but one of the biggest reasons is a lack of, I don't want to just say a lack of leadership, a lack of knowledge on the part of the leader on how to get beyond what I refer to as entrepreneurial thinking and into a professionally managed organization that now has the ability to scale.
Yeah.
And that's what you're focused on. And I love that, because it starts at the top. The leader has to be there, has to have the vision and the tools and the mindset. So with that as sort of the backdrop here, and you've got a reputation of working with CEOs and sort of transforming them into people who are thinking deeper about these things. But from your journey, how did this philosophy sort of evolve from your earlier days into first seeing and understanding the importance of this, and then creating, anticipating a program or a methodology that actually coaches folks to improve on these levels? Tell us about that. I just think it's great.
When I graduated from my MBA, I started in franchising because I loved the idea of helping entrepreneurs to succeed. Early enough to learn what not to do in franchising. So a couple of failures there. even with at least one organization that went that way, like entrepreneurial, and then went down in a year and a half. So we from 52 franchise we went down to 10, if I'm right. So that was working with those guys. I've learned a lot about what not to do in franchising. After that, I've been fortunate enough to work with publicly traded companies as a franchisor, and be exposed to another way of thinking, and that is probably the start of the evolution of how I saw my role, and how I could use leadership. But prior to that, I was into the Air Cadets, and I've been a leadership instructor and stuff like that. So I have a psychology degree. So between you and I, leadership is always where I was looking at. But I made a lot of mistakes trying to grow the networks, and I realized that if you don't execute the leadership at the right level, you won't be able. See, so when you're younger, you think you can make it happen, and yeah, I'm the one I'm going to do. When you get a bit more experience, you say, maybe I need a team, and that team is crucial. And I realized that I did the mistakes of hiring the wrong people. They were great people, but not the right people to help me to grow the brand. So I got stuck with that, and I just at the end of the day, what I realized is, if you don't grow as a leader, you can't grow your system. So you have to multiply the leaders around you so you can grow. So that was where I kind of format my head around leadership. And when I started consulting and helping CEOs, I realized that I was not the only one with this. A lot of CEOs have this issue, as you mentioned. So I decided to say, okay, how can I help them? And then I realized that most of them, we need to have a kind of a system to help them to grow in confidence and with a lot of security, because most of entrepreneur, when they get to this kind of leadership, they feel insecure. They say, it's not me, it's not my style, it's not what I want, and stuff like that. So we have to really work that into both let's see, security, and help them to grow mindset, know-how, and then experience it and live with the consequences.
Yeah, yeah. So is what you're referring to, is that, and I gleaned some things from the website, is that Franchise Excel?
Yeah,
Um,
franchise excel
Walk
is
us
is
through that because it sounds like a
yeah.
very interesting concept.
Yeah, it's the idea there for Franchise Excel is, we need to make sure that we start with the right diagnostic, and most of the time people focus on the franchising side. See, do we have the operation manual? Do we have this? Do we have that? Blah 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 blah. That's not even 50% of the equation. The right business model. Blah blah blah. Yeah, okay. This is technical. You should have it. The part where I work more, and this is where Franchise Excel is gearing toward two, is leadership. And I see leadership as being, there's three ways. Yes, you need to be competent somewhere, somehow in what you do. You need also to be able to develop a lot of the connection part, which is more than just organizing or having an annual meeting. And also the last part of this trio is the trust, building trust within your organization. So this is how, with Franchise Excel, I can help the CEOs to gain step by step the level that they're capable of.
Mhm.
That being said, it's also with the team, and most of them have the same issue. They're entrepreneur, they got great guys, but going further require other kind of a skill set. So sometimes the team is okay, but sometimes the team is not okay. So that also is a challenge for them.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I will tell you, a mentor of mine in the business, so to speak, and I had the pleasure of meeting him and speaking with him a couple of times, but I give my clients his book. It's called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, and he
Mm,
talks about the entrepreneur, the technician, and the manager. So, based on what you just said, one of the challenges we have, my company has when we take on a client is, as you so beautifully put, the founder of the company sometimes can be their own worst enemy,
Yes.
and sometimes can be the reason the company doesn't grow.
Yeah.
And as a consultant, as an advisor, I'm faced with a choice. Do I move the founder out of the company into more of a, I don't know, like figurehead kind of role? Or
Ambassador
do
type
we
of
try to
role.
get the founder to start thinking in a more scalable role? So the question, because I could see this is like trying to chase chickens in a backyard. You're not going to catch any. How do you blend or like the creativity that founders typically have? They're going all over here with the discipline of building a team, running a team, holding people accountable, measuring results. How do you do that?
I think you got my clients too. The same thing.
I could give you some
Yeah,
clients.
I see one. I see one like that. She's the top creative person, and the team is around like chicken without, okay. So, uh, but there's one. I'm more a coach than and a consultant. So sometimes I'm pretty
Right.
assertive, and in some cases, what I do is I do a diagnostic with them, and if they're not the right people the right person to grow this company, right there, we have to make a decision. Otherwise, whatever they're gonna invest in the pro and in themselves won't work. Because some entrepreneur, they cannot go to that level because this is not who they are. So what kind of role do they have to hire someone, stuff like that? Those are, first the first month we have to decide that. Are you the one so we can grow, or you're not? If you're not, what is the solution? And between you and I sometimes I lose my clients because they say, what, I don't want to hire anyone. I'm the one, and I'm going to be the one driving the show. Okay, good for you. But I know, my psychology background. I use psychometric tests and stuff like that with my client, and and we find their strength. And if I can have someone who's strong enough into strategic and communication, stuff like that, we can develop the person. If he's not strategic but more a kind of an entrepreneur, operational problem solver, big time, but strategy is not his way, it might be tougher. See?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get some people there, right? And you just described one of my
Well,
clients
there's
now.
two things. You said something twice now about, maybe they're good people, but they're not the right people. And I'm
Mm,
sort of, and by the way, I was going to say, I guess you have to be part coach, part priest, part psychologist. You're like, you're like a shoulder, whatever. But the thing you said about the right people, I'm sort of reminded the first time I've read Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. He
mhm,
talked about not only having the right people on the bus, but those people have to be sitting in the right seat.
mhm,
So it's a multi-phase concept.
mhm,
If you think about it,
mhm,
you could have the right person, but maybe they're doing the wrong job. Maybe they'd
mhm,
be better over here than over here. And as a
mhm,
founder, or as the vision, as the leader, you need to be able to see that without emotion. You need to be able to
mhm,
say, "Hey, this is you'll be better here." And the other thing that I heard you say about, in the right away, like if is the founder gonna stay or go, or whatever. I did a podcast recently with Amy LeClara, who's the one of the co-founders of a brand called Sit Still Kids. It's a haircutting thing, and she has just turned her company over to a CEO, and she was challenged by it. We had a great conversation. It's actually going to be broadcast pretty soon, but we talked about, like, at what point, like, where did she have to cross the bridge? Like, what did she have to embrace? And she put it very eloquently, and I've used what she told me a few weeks ago on several occasions. She said, I had to come to the conclusion that, because it wasn't like I was abandoning my child, okay, my company. I had to come to the realization and the conclusion that the company would not have started without me, but that the company cannot continue with me.
Wow, pretty mature.
And I thought, wow, we have an adult in the room. Because I don't know that I could say that. I'm wrestling that with that right now, thinking, okay, what am I going to do with my company? So
Mhm.
it's an interesting concept that if you can embrace the idea that, yeah, you were the nucleus, you're the person that got it started. Maybe you don't want to morph into something different, and now you have to realize that it can't grow without me. So I'd love to know, like, if those conversations that you have with people, what drives that, and what, like, when do you go, oh, I need to have this conversation?
Yeah. I think the key point in every conversation is growth. See, so some people, some CEOs are say, "Yeah, I want to grow." Yeah, okay, let's talk about growth. What is the recipe to grow? And then suddenly either they realize that, wow, this is not what I used to do. So it was easy, from going from 10 to 30 to 40, but now we're aiming more than that. And it's more complex, it's more difficult, and suddenly they realize that, oh, okay, growth is not as easy as it was. So that growth is one key. The other part also is value creation. One day you're gonna raise your flag, say, "I'm for sale." When is that day, and what is the number that you're looking at? And that also helps a lot of CEOs to realize that, yeah, okay, maybe I need to do something. And this do something sometimes is say, yeah, you need to step down or step aside and hire someone that will be able to structure that growth and move on. See, I just tomorrow I'm starting a client. She used to be a franchisee. She bought the franchisor. She grew the franchisor to a great level. Now she's expanding, and she realized, a couple of months ago that, wow, this is not the same thing as it used to be. So she hired someone, and that someone is someone with capacities to grow. But this person is not an entrepreneur. He's somewhere somehow just the right, let's say, general manager, if you will, or EVP. I cannot recall her title exactly, but she's the right person for the right mandate. And the franchisor say, you know what? Now I can sleep. So for her, it was more like I was not sleeping. That was interesting. I was not sleeping. I was worried about, okay, I need to grow. I want to grow. The market is for me, but I cannot. I don't know how. And sometimes, they get a bit tired of. They've been in the system for, 20 years, working there day in, day out, stuff like that. So they get a bit tired. But the real question was, wow, how can I grow? And she realized that, I'm not the one. I'm a great operator, but now it's too large for me. It's too big. I'm losing control. And that freaks them.
Yeah, and there's a danger in that. And the danger is that sometimes the entrepreneurs, instead of doing what needs to get done to take the company, say, from adolescence to maturity, as Michael Gerber says,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
take it from adolescence back to infancy. And
Yeah.
they go, you know what, I'm going to get rid of everybody, and it's just going to be me and two other people how I used to do it.
Yeah.
And that is a very sad situation because A, it negates everything that that person's worked for up to that point, but
Hmm.
more importantly, it keeps the rest of the world from the greatness that could have been. So,
Yeah. And when you look at the franchisee side, for them, it's not good news.
oh no, it's not. No, it's definitely
No,
not good news for
a
them.
network that doesn't grow, it's not good for their business.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a certain, I don't want to get into it now, but when we do a franchise development project, we
Hmm.
want to assess where the founder is because we don't want to see the founder get stumbled and then people who have given that person money and their lives are depending on it, all of a sudden they're now impacted by bad
Yeah.
decisions. So
Yeah.
that's sort of a spiral over there.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you.
give us, like, what is your last thoughts on this topic, because I see it as very important, but I'd like to know how you see it in terms of how it worked. Not, well, I think you've explained how it works, but the impact that it has, and any other last thought that you have.
Hmm. I think as a franchise leader, you have a responsibility for your franchisees. You know, you're 100% responsible of the results you get. And it's a big decision when you decide to grow or to go into franchise. And you have to recognize at a certain level that it's not about you. It's about what you created and the other people involved. And, you know, those people are relying on you. So the trust they put in you, you earn it. So make sure that it's going to continue. And if you're not the right person, you should raise your hand and say, I'm not the one. It's tough to admit, but it's certainly the thing. So, you know, what I do normally is really helping them to walk that bridge. You know, so if if they can't, let's walk that bridge together. So when you're going to be on the other side of the river, you'll see what that it's feasible, and you'll have a better view on your future and business. So yes, for sure. So the last thought I have is, as a franchise CEO, I've been one, we have a responsibility, and it's not necessarily to our shareholder, it's to our partners, which are franchise partners. And those people put their trust, their money, their life saving. Most of the time, the family is involved in those franchises, and you have a responsibility. And this is, don't let them go. You know, don't let them go because you decide that, yeah, I can be, but if you manage that way, if you lead your network that way, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And, States is more competitive than Canada into franchising. And wow, see, so if you want to make sure that you create something and your legacy is what you do is, if you can't level up, raise your hand and find someone to help you out. It's not how, it's with who.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great last thought there. And again, you and I are cut from the same mold on how we view the
Mhm.
responsibility of a franchisor.
Oh, yeah.
And the franchisor needs to constantly improve themselves and
Yeah.
improve their company because that is their obligation to their franchisee. So
Oh, yeah, for
we
sure.
are definitely cut from the same mold on that. Well, Stéphane, this has been absolutely incredible. We have to have you come back because we could talk about this forever. I know there's so much
Yeah,
more.
for
Um,
sure.
if someone wants to learn more about Imagine Franchise or they want to reach you, like how do they get in touch with you and we can post it?
Uh, my website, imaginefranchise.com, or my LinkedIn profile is pretty easy to find and easy to get to. I am on I see myself as being a servant to the franchise leaders. So I don't necessarily, I'm not like a lawyer or so. So I see myself as, I'm there to help you as a franchise leader to not only to grow, but also to be happy as a franchise leader,
I hear you.
which is not always
So
easy.
we'll put in the website and then we'll also list your LinkedIn page so somebody could
Cool.
click on it
Thanks.
and do
Yeah,
it that way. But
that
so
will be
again,
easy.
thank you very much for being with us.
Gary,
I truly
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. See you then. See you soon. I'll talk to you soon. All
Yep,
right.
you
Bye bye,
got it.
Gary.